Hello, my name is Peggy Adams, President of the League of Women Voters, Flint area. With partners Communities First and Flint Beat, we share a purpose to engage, empower, and educate local voters. We're happy to bring you a virtual community forum today to help you decide which candidate for Genesee County Commissioner in your district will get your vote. The Board of Commissioners makes important decisions about how your tax dollars are spent, so knowing about your candidate is important. All candidates for these offices were contacted. Some candidates chose not to participate for a variety of reasons. We hope you'll listen carefully to those who have and check vote411.org to see if there is a written response from the others. All were informed that they would need to comply with certain rules, such as refraining from comments on other persons and only taking this opportunity to tell voters about their own qualifications, priorities, and outlook. All candidates were asked the same questions and all have the same time to answer. Thank you, and we look forward to an informative discussion. Well, gentlemen, let's begin. I usually go in alphabetical order, and then the person who answers second then begins with the next question first. So, question number one, what background and experiences have prepared you for this office? Mr. Chappelle, would you like to begin?
I've had, yes, thank you. Great question. So over the years, I've been in and out of different scenarios. I know a million people and been from the bottom and then now to the top, however, all over the map. Why I wanted to run for commissioner is because it's a position that is you have an impact locally at your community, but on a county level. So right where I feel I can make the most impact is locally, right here, right now. So, I'm really wanting to get in the economic committee, the Community Economic Development Committee. So then that way I could try and help grow some infrastructure and really try and bring some jobs back. I'm in the automobile industry, and I was selling 50, 60 cars a month and had a team. And then all of a sudden, the chip issue, that all happens, and my volume gets cut in half. At the end of the day, I'm thinking to myself, 20 years ago, these things were all built from A to Z right here. What's happening? Why? It just blows my mind. And then I just feel like, I was blessed, and I golfed with, I took some time and got to pick the brain of a vice president at GM. And I asked him, why not Genesee County? You have a $7 billion EV plant going in Lansing. Why not Genesee County? And he basically stated it's because of the infrastructure. So at the end of the day, I want to try and grow bigger businesses, and there's a trickle down effect to education, and everything gets better.
Thank you. And Mr. Shoemaker, again, what background and experiences have prepared you for this office?
Well, thank you, Peggy, for the question to start off with. To start with, if most of you know me or you know my father, I've been around politics since I was 6 years old. I grew up in my family small business. I've seen how Genesee County has been affected by the plant closures and poor economic policy throughout this county throughout my 50 years of life. On top of that, I've managed businesses, car dealerships, and so on and so forth. But that really doesn't prepare you to deal with what you deal with down at the county level. It's very different than what management of a business is and everything else like that. What other experience I have, which is more important, which people should look at, is I served 6 years on the Fenton Township Board as a trustee. I sat on various committees down there with Bonnie Mathis, who was a supervisor there my entire term, wonderful woman. And she brought up and pointed out to me, actually, the need for someone to represent the out county down at the County Board of Commissioners. And I decided to get involved. Other experiences, I was responsible for negotiating the union contract actually down at the township. We actually have no long-term legacy costs in Fenton Township when I left, which that was a goal when I left there. And as you know, Genesee County has $650 million of long-term legacy debt over the next 20 years that we have unfunded. So we need someone like myself. With the last 4 years, I've been down there fighting, trying to bring awareness to the fact that we are headed towards bankruptcy, and no one wants to steer the ship in a different direction. And so I believe my experience between being around my father and also my experience the last 10 years as an elected official makes me the ideal candidate still for this position.
Thank you. The question number 2, and now it's your turn again, Mr. Shoemaker. What are your priorities for the 2023-2024 term?
Well, if I am reelected and blessed enough to do so by the voters of the 6th district, first thing, I want to continue to work with the sheriff's department and the prosecutor, because public safety is very important. You have nothing when you lose public safety. And unfortunately, we're limited in those dollars where we can spread them around down at the county. So we've got to be very careful and very resourceful that we don't cut those. I plan to continue funding the GHOST team. And if you don't know what that is, that's a special unit provided from the sheriff's department. We go after online predators and these people who prey on our children and the weakest. That's one of my top priorities there, is to make sure that still continues to be funded. My other priorities continue to work with elected officials down there to get spending under control. You know, we have generally an annual general fund budget around $100 million. And every year we seem to spend millions over what we've budgeted. Now, I have voted against that every year I've been down there, because guess what? We ask the residents of our county to live within their means. And guess what we do as a county board? We don't. And they shouldn't be asked that if we're not willing to do that also. Another priority I have down there also is to eliminate, not just cut the budget, but eliminate wasteful spending. We have a lot of projects that we continue to fund that we say we're going to continue to do this because that's the way we've always done that. We need to stop that. On top of it, we need to continue to invest in infrastructure. We have done a great job of doing that with ARP dollars throughout our community. I wish we'd spent a little more of those ARP dollars actually on that. You know, I'm proud to say that, guess what? In our district right here, we've brought back more money than any other district for infrastructure. I work with 7 Democrats and I'm one of 2 Republicans. And to say that, I think that's a great accomplishment on my behalf, because guess what? It shows I can work with others and get things done to make sure the 6th district is still the best district in Genesee County.
Okay, and Mr. Chappelle.
So I have to agree. However, I think that by going through and seeing, I'm definitely going to support the sheriff's office and the prosecutor's office as well. I've noticed that, that right now that a lot of we're not getting the support they need to from District 6, unfortunately. I feel like we need to work together. It's more, you talk about 7 Democrats and 2 Republicans. And to me, that's 9 Americans. And why I'm running as an independent is to bridge the gap between the two, because right now it's so polarized and it's trickled down to this level. Yes, dude, I just want the sheriff's office to get what they need when it comes to Project Arrowhead and whatnot. And, just the way I see it is Sheriff Swanson's absolutely doing a remarkable job. If he stays within his budget, stay out of his way. And that's the type of leader you want in the county, obviously. So I feel like that is a big portion of it. And like I said, the infrastructure of raising your hand and trying to get businesses here with the technology boom going. Why can't we raise our hand and say, hey, come to Genesee County? It's just, if you don't ask, you don't get. And if you keep on doing what you're doing, you keep on getting what you're getting. And I think that this county and our district deserves more.
Thank you. Now, if you would like to go ahead with question 3, how will you respond to constituent concerns?
Great question. So what I'm going to do is, 82% of Americans use social media platform. Okay. And running as an independent, I'm going to tap into both sides, not just one. And I'm going to keep them informed and take polls, keep them in the loop. And I'm going to take pride in having the I want to get a voter registration count before I take office and after, and I can guarantee it's going to go up. I want to get more people involved because they need to be. And why not use social media when so many people are on it? So I am going to really utilize that to the best of my ability to get more people involved. And that 82% is continuing to grow. So why not? And I'm really looking forward to it. I think the more people involved, the more people that say and do and act. And I wanted to have them come to the board meetings, and tell me their grievances so we could figure out what we could do as a community to work together. And that's 100% what's going to happen.
Thank you. And Mr. Shoemaker.
Can you reread the question for me, please?
Absolutely. How will you respond to constituent concerns?
Well, I think if you look at my track record, I have a great record of actually responding to concerns. As a county commissioner, number one, the most complaints you receive actually or concerns are actually about our roads. And we have a road commission for that. One of the responsibilities as a county commissioner is we actually appoint those people to the road commission. We have a vacancy right now. We still don't have a policy on how we pass. It's been political appointees from before instead of sending the most qualified person. As far as handling other concerns, one, we need to move the meetings to nighttime so residents can come and actually show up to the meetings. I brought this motion forth several times and it's been rejected by the board, but most people, men and women in the out county, actually work. They have grandchildren they take care of while their children work or whatever, and they'd like to have a voice. They'd like to be involved, but unfortunately, we keep meetings in the morning on a Wednesday. And if everyone knows their history of the county board of commissioners, it used to be made up of supervisors throughout the entire county, and the meetings were in the evening. So people can come. And you go to your local municipalities, and those meetings are actually in the evening, so people can express themselves and actually in a forum that's respectful and where they can have their voices heard. In addition to that, as far as concerns, I've been blessed that most of my constituents, when they do call me, I get on it. I'll drive out to their house. We had some flooding out in the area in the spring. I make sure I go out there. I take the pictures. I make sure I send them to the road commission, the drain commissioner, or whoever needs to be contacted to make sure we get those issues resolved. And I think most of those people would say I've done a fantastic job of doing that. So on top of that, social media can be used. The county needs to do a better job with social media as far as notifying people what is going on and what we are doing. That's very important from there. We do broadcast our meetings, which is nice, but there's so much more we could be doing. But unfortunately, things take time, or not time, I'm sorry, money. And with that being an issue down at the county, it's tough to hire people when you don't have those extra dollars.
Okay, thank you. Question 4. According to the U.S. Census, Genesee County's population declined 4.6% from 2010 to 2020. What policies would you pursue to help grow our county in the future?
Well, thank you. To start with, I think we've taken action on that. I think the current board's been very vocal about trying to expand that footprint. We've invested in infrastructure. We have several sewer and water projects going right now, which are very, very important to that because our local communities just can't afford to keep up with that. In addition, yes, we have an economic development committee. We work with the Genesee Chamber, but we need to do more. That's not going to be enough. We've actually reached out to business and local leaders to help us provide a footprint for that or a plan for that. And unfortunately, that's still not enough because most of these communities are using their dollars to buy businesses coming in through tax abatements, tax incentives, and so on and so forth. And in Genesee County, there's not a lot of that money left laying around because unfortunately for the last 4 decades, we've overpromised and underdelivered, and we don't have the resources right now. And the main job of a county commissioner is to make sure, guess what, you live within your means and you're spending those tax dollars as wisely as possible. And we need to make sure we're doing that so we can invest when it's time, so we can invest in infrastructure in other areas. That's like the old Buick City site. The Buick City site people are looking at, but they want money for cleanup and for prep. And guess what? We need to make sure we have those funds to invest in that and to make sure we can put that out there so we can create those jobs and then bring people living back in our communities. We also need to work with our local school districts to make sure they have the resources they need. Now, can't give them the money, but we can sure make sure they have the safe facility and they are in the right, space. I'm sorry about that. The cat's going. I'm sorry. that they have the, the resources, public safety, because our schools, that's a very big and important fact. They need to be safe, and the children there need to be getting a great education. They can't be worried about issues happening. And I think our sheriff's department's done a wonderful job with that. I think we have contracts with most of the schools to actually have officers in the school right now.
Okay, thank you. Moving to Mr. Chappelle.
So I would agree with this the standpoint, but you cannot wait for people to come to you. You have to go out and ask, and if you don't ask, you don't get. So I don't think that any of the commissioners, I think they've unfortunately are failing us in the longevity of what this happening in this county. So I think if you look at GM's growth in the state over the last 5 years, and none of it's been right here where it was all the why, because we didn't want to sit down and come up with a program that works for both parties. Now, what if you Ford? What about any of these other Toyotas going to Alabama and Texas? Why can't we raise our hands and say, come on up here? And I understand the infrastructure is there, we need money for the infrastructure, but I think that is definitely money well spent. And by getting people involved to get them up here, it's only way to make a change. And I agree with them. Does the sheriff department do a great job? Yes, absolutely. But we need to do a better job. And how do you do it? By holding people accountable, making sure everything's transparent, making sure everybody's involved. I think that by waiting for people to come to you is not going to get us anywhere. We have to go knock on doors of big businesses. And if we have to offer them a couple tax breaks, there's a compromise to everything. When this government was formed, it was based on the premise of compromise. And that's the one thing that I'm going to do is bring in my negotiating skills to make a compromise, to bring big businesses in, and we're going to get Genesee County booming again.
Okay, now if you would like to continue, number 5 is, what do you see as the role of county government in partnering with cities, villages, and townships across the county?
Actually, that's a great question. I'm glad you brought it up. I've been going out and introducing myself in District 6 and the municipalities, and I get the same consensus over at each municipality that there is no relationship. And that's the one thing that I really want to bridge the gap between on a county level and a city level. We need to work together to better our community. It's not like there's two separate programs. Why not? They were blown away that I went in and introduced myself. And that's what it's about. We need to work together for what's best for our community. And that's all the county. I would be willing to go sit down even at a different district if I can help any way, shape, and form in anywhere, I'm going to do so. But I'm definitely going to look for the city of Linden and Fenton, and we're going to create a relationship that's going to last a long time. And we're going to build that trust so then we can work together on some awesome programs to get this economy booming and continue to get everything on the up and up. I want it to be transparent that there is a partnership between the two. I want everybody in the district to know that, and that's what we're going to do.
Okay, Mr. Shoemaker?
Can you read the question again, please?
Certainly. What
Thank
do you
you.
see as the role of county government in partnering with cities, villages, and townships across the county?
Well, the county needs to take another step, or we should be the lead of that as it is, but we need to take another step in improving that. Not just from the commissioner standpoint, which, like I said, I've been blessed. I worked at Fenton Township. I helped us to get the water project out here, worked with Supervisor Lorraine. On top of that, with board members of the county, which is a unanimous vote down there to make sure we got the water and the sewer projects and everything out here. But what we need to do is actually create a position for a county liaison to help these local elected officials, because most of them, as you know, have never had the experience before managing a township or managing a city. And if they don't have a city manager or a township manager, they have trouble. They don't know when to fill out certain things for grants. They don't know how to do certain things. And what we could do as a county is provide an office for that, where they can actually come down. This person will stop out there and visit with them. And it's a full-time position, so they can get the resources they need to make sure they're more effective when they are applying for grants to the state or they are working with the county. Those are very important to us. I've been very blessed to work with most of my supervisors and mayors. As far as that goes, I have a very good relationship with them. I'm very blessed. They can call me anytime. The other night we had the Michigan Township Association meeting there, and had a wonderful response from those people. Had some wonderful questions, a little more in depth on how we're going to do things to fix things in the county. And I think they're very pleased with me. I also have a relationship with supervisors I'm losing, like Grand Lake Township, Scott Bennett, who I am a big fan of, whose township is growing leaps and bounds. And we need to continue to work with people like Mr. Bennett, who have shown that they have a blueprint for turning things around and keeping this county successful.
Okay, now we're down to the last question. Why do you want to be a county commissioner?
This is a good one. I feel that I want to be a county commissioner for a few different reasons. But one, I'm going to take pride in working, and I have a gift of bringing people together. Okay, and I'm running as an independent for a reason. Why? Because it's so polarized. If you as an independent can sit down and say, hey, it doesn't matter if there's a D next to your name or an R, how can we work together to bridge the gap? And that's what's not happening. If you look and go through all of and I'm not even going to get on voting record because it doesn't matter. My point is, what I'm going to do is get everybody to work together. I see 9 commissioners, not 7 Democrats and 2 Republicans, 9 Americans, that we need to sit down and figure out solutions for what's best for all of us, not just one part of the county and the other. If I'm going to work with them, they're going to work with me, and then I'll get grant money for my district. If you got to go along to get along. And I honestly feel that it's asking the right questions and to the right people to bridge the gap between the right and the left, and for what's best for our community. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. Thank you.
Mr. Shoemaker.
Okay, can you read the question again, please?
Absolutely. Why do you want to be a county commissioner?
Well, I already am the county commissioner in the area, and I've been blessed enough to do so for the last 4 years. Why I wanted to do it was, one, I saw from my time at Fenton Township the lack of response we got in the out county. I saw the fact that the out districts weren't catered to. They didn't get the resources they needed. No one was down there saying, hey, what about Fenton Township? What about the city of Linden? What about Argentine Township? No one was concerned with that. The money kept getting dumped into one spot or one location in the center of the county. And I was talking about the process one day, and former Supervisor Bonnie Mathis said to me, we could use somebody like you down there. And I chose to take her up on her advice, and I ran. And I'm very proud of my record. I don't look at it as partisan. I went with both sides of the aisle, and I voted on a lot of things, and I voted no on a lot of things. But the main thing I do is I support working men and women. I will continue to fight for them. And when I think something goes against them, I will continue to. And you know what? And if that makes me look like the bad guy or whatever anybody wants to look at me as, that's who I am. I love what I do. I love this county. I've been very blessed to serve it. And I pray that the good Lord has it in his will that I will continue to serve.
Okay. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for answering these questions. And I just have to say, it was really interesting. Some of the ideas that you brought out are things that I was trying to deal with as a commissioner when I was on the Board of Commissioners. So I wish you every success.